So one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about is whenever we're looking at wireless power, just generally like kind of surfing the internet, every now and then we'll see an image of a product disaster.
Yeah, right.
And a lot of times product developers don't really understand the ramifications of cutting corners in design. So say, for example, we'll see a card in a wallet with a hole burned through it, or a phone that's melted and like the adhesive is starting to peel apart, or like a wood burn from a wireless charger. Like so,
like
it's
a battery's expanding and kind of oozing out of the side,
or exploding. There's so much wild stuff that we've seen over the years. So instead of getting into like why do those specific examples happen, can we take us like a level higher and say like why does this happen from the product design point of view? What major themes lead to these mistakes?
Yeah. So first of all, I think it's important to say these aren't regularly occurring events, but these are the types of events that from a brand perspective, if it happens once, it might be too many times, because you can imagine the type of brand reputation problem it creates if you're a treadmill company and you destroy someone's phone because of overheating it and it melts the adhesives. Or you can imagine the product liability and the brand impact that happens if you actually damage someone's phone to the point where it causes the battery to ooze and leak out because of overheating. And on and on. It's not the prevalence of the problem, it's the magnitude of the problem that is really important and what it can do to destruct a brand. And so your question is around shortcuts. And the type of shortcuts that we typically see are, I think, twofold. First of all, there's a shortcut in the design capabilities and like actually understanding how to develop systems that are inherently safe and inherently high quality. Secondly, there's a shortcut when it comes to sourcing the right types of components and really qualifying the components. So a lot of times what you see is companies really driving for a commoditized, very inexpensive version of a solution for, let's say, a charger that goes in a treadmill or a charger that goes in a boat or a charger that goes in a car, and they're trying to sell the cheapest version of it. And by doing that, they're buying scrap. You know, literally they're buying the ICs that didn't pass quality. And so they're buying those and they're rolling the dice and they know maybe it's only a 0.1% chance of causing a problem. You just don't want to be the brand that catches that one. Because that you could be, you know, penny wise, pound foolish in many cases if you're the company that gets caught buying that cheap commodity product.
In the advertising world, I feel like you hear this saying that like you can tell the difference between like a corporate made car commercial and like a local car commercial. It's like you're still selling cars, but like one is inspirational and will get you there, and the other one is like, maybe that's a shady place to buy a car. And
they're all using video cameras and they're all using like you know, talent and stuff, but like the quality really shows through, right?
So what advice would you give to brands looking to create a product to like avoid those types of mistakes?
Like how do they figure it out? That's a great question. It's one of those things, and it's you know it when you see it. That's kind of a famous Supreme Court thing regarding pornography. That's what the Supreme Court was trying to say, is like, what's pornography? And the Supreme Court justice that wrote the opinion said, well, can't really define it, but you know it when you see it. And it's the same way with quality and electronic devices, where let's just say there's a big perception that I think is partially incorrect, where it's like if it comes from China, it must be junky. I don't think that's true at all. I actually think there's a lot of great quality manufacturing and even some good design happening from the tier one Chinese companies or companies that have Chinese divisions. I mean, so there's a lot of great design and technology there. So I wouldn't want to paint with a broad brush and say anything from China is going to be a problem. But there's a clear drop off after you get from the tier one with a lot of fly-by-night factories, a lot of disreputable companies, and you can kind of tell in their communication. You can tell in
like communication, like what, like sell sheets or?
Yeah, exactly. In their data sheet, you can see it in the quality of their slides. I mean, I can't tell you, Amaya, how many times I've seen competitive slides where there'll be a company promoting that they have a solution, and literally I know that that's not even their image.
I'm
like
cringing.
they just right
under my sweater, like that's really bad.
Right. It's like it's kind of, you know, it's borderline unethical, but like more important from a perspective of trying to avoid being the company that buys from them. Like ask a lot of questions, but how does it work? Obviously, like, where have you put this before, and what's the success of that? And if they don't have good referenceable customers with like big brand names that you would say you'd be proud to be in the brand bucket along with that company that's buying from them, you know, like there's probably a reason that they're not giving you those references, or that they don't have them. So like I wouldn't want to be the first company to jump in to a market trying to get a cheap electronic product. You know, I don't want to be the one taking that risk. If other companies that I associate myself with, at least with like a brand quality or brand perception, I would try to avoid that.
If we're saying that we want to work with innovative companies, or we're inventing solutions for customers, to your point, like, you don't want to go with an ODM or a Chinese manufacturer that may have never done this before. But what if you're doing something that's never been done?
In general.
Yeah, like in general, say we're pushing the limits of NFC, and we're usually with every NFC product we come out with, it's the best performing, you know, solution. So how can you trust your manufacturer when you're doing something that's never been done as well? Like,
yeah, well, there's a big difference between like the technology's never been done. So if we're doubling the power level of what's ever been done, which I think we've like doubled the power level of Qi twice so far, and I think we're on the precipice of launching a product that is 8 times the power level of anything else that's ever been done in NFC, other than what New Current has done for customers. So we've also ratcheted that up a few times.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference between like launching something that has new features and benefits that have never been done versus never having done that innovative process for big brand companies before.
Okay.
Like, if you can prove to be successful at innovation and new product introduction, that in and itself has a quality process to it, and has a system and, you know, IP behind it. Like, how do we test and validate things? How do you get new certifications that have never existed before? There's a lot of like expertise involved in that. So if you're looking for an innovation partner because you know that what you want to bring to the market from a features and benefits perspective does not currently exist, you're right. No one will have a sell sheet that says, yeah, we can do 3 watts of NFC wireless power and 848 kilobytes per second. No one has that sell sheet.
Yeah.
And if they do, they're full of shit. They don't have it. I can tell you that right now. But you can validate, has this company done this type of innovation for other companies that are like quality companies like us?
Okay.
That would be a good way to check.